It is a great day here on a Tuesday here on the Bleav in Steelers show. Mark Bergin, two-time Super Bowl champion, swagging you, Ike Taylor. IT, we have a guest today where when we started the show in 2019, one of the people I was most excited to talk to, and it's not every day you get to talk to a living legend.
Right. I mean, the one and only. There's really no need for no introduction. His name is worldwide. If you know anything about football, you heard of him. If you know anything about his 62, 63 picks, you heard of him. If you know anything about golfing, you heard of him. If you know anything about being a pool shark or having his own song, to be honest with you, you heard of him. The one and only, but he just so happened to be a Hall of Fame coach and player, for the Detroit Lions. But I've had years, but it felt like centuries just going with the great living legend. Can we all just give a clap for Dick LeBeau? Golly.
Let's bring him in. And Ike, before we get too far ahead, BetOnline.ag is today's presenting sponsor of the Bleav in Steelers show. You can head over to the website today, receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit using our promo code Bleav. That's BLEAV. But welcome in the legend, Dick LeBeau. Dick, how are you?
Hi, Mark. How you doing, Mark? I'm good. Whenever I'm anywhere near Ike Taylor, I got a smile on my face, man. He carried me through a lot of alleys, man, and on into victory. He said he had some questions for me, which is very unusual because when he was playing for me, all he ever asked me on Tuesday was, "Who I got this week, Coach?" That's all I ever. That's about all the intercourse we had between each other.
Hey Dickie, what you up to nowadays? How the family? How you doing? What's your schedule? What's your day like on a normal day now that you're not coaching? But I know you staying busy. Last time I saw you, I mean, really every time I see you, you always look like you're in good shape. I remember, just you walking around the four corners on the football field before practice, and you used to do every corner. You used to do your push-ups, and we used to be in awe about that. Like, look at Dickie, man. Dickie always getting some kind of work in. So I just wanted to know, man, what you up to right now, what you doing nowadays.
Well, I do pretty much whatever I want to do, which is what you do when you're retired.
Okay.
But I found about that first year of retirement, I would say, this is weird. I got to get in a meeting someplace, I got to get a game plan ready. I got to be getting ready for a draft. And I would say that lasted about a year. And then one day it finally dawned on me. He said, "Hey, Coach, you don't have any more game plans. You don't have to do anything." So I then became more busy than I was when I was working. I think there's always stuff on the calendar, and fortunately, because you guys were so good, people want to talk about our two championship teams, and I do. I'm just busy doing my stuff.
Speaking of the two championships teams led by you, Coach LeBeau, which one was your favorite and why?
Well, when people ask me those favorite questions, because my career spanned 45 years of coaching and 14 years of playing, and I don't go into favorite players. I had the honor to coach so many wonderful, outstanding players.
Mm-hmm.
I had the honor to coach in 6 Super Bowl games, and we only won 2. And the 2 that we won were the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2005 and the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll leave it up to you to try to figure out which one is a little bit closer and dearer to my heart, because it's more fun to win than to lose.
Right.
The 05 team, I never asked the good Lord for too much help when we were competing, I know the other guys on the other side of the field were probably praying too, I figured the Lord had bigger things to take care of than that. But right. I did say before that 05 game, I said, now, I don't know how many Super Bowls I'm going to get to from here on in, Lord. So if it's in your guidance and vision for me to win a Super Bowl, let it be this one here so I can quit worrying about it. So that was very monumental. But in all seriousness, because of the special connection that you guys had with that 08 defense, and that's what I wrote a book about it, because I realized that when we were going through it, that this is a special bunch of guys. And there was a charisma there, a bond that every coach strives to get from his unit, but it almost never happens, I should say. And that particular group of guys and that particular season and the way it unfolded and the way it ended, that has to be the most memorable year of my coaching and playing career. And you guys are the same way today. And let's see, that's 08, this is 24, so it's quite a few years ago. And I worked so long, you're not going to write any book while you're coaching,
Right.
You're too busy.
Right.
So when I finally retired, I said, I should write a book about those guys in that season. So finally I did. And I have to say that going back and looking at all those games, play by play, it was just as exhilarating as it was when we lived through it, and we were living and dying with every play. You guys were still as special. And to be totally honest with you, I knew you guys were good, because I'd had tremendous exposure in the National Football League to good teams and great athletes. But until I did that and searching for stuff that I might want to put in my book, did I realize how good you were. Because, we were always getting ready for the next game, and
Right.
the last one good, Chocolate put it in the win department. We played 19 games, so we won 15 and lost 4. So most of the Mondays we were having pretty good gatherings.
Right.
And I understood one thing when I went back and really perused the videos of the games. You guys were tremendous tacklers, like all of you, every position. And we led the league about 6 straight years in fewest big plays given up. And it wasn't like we were playing against chopped liver. Our schedule that 2008 year, we played against the best season schedule in the whole league.
Right.
So it wasn't like you guys weren't playing anybody, and yet they couldn't make any plays because all of you could tackle, and if you got to the ball, which all of you could, the play was over. And I realized watching it, I guess when I wasn't prepared for anything else, because usually when I'd watch our game films after we'd play, I was only looking to fix whatever was not wrong. Right. And so, yeah, I'm going to say that 2008 season is my favorite one of all those years. But I've had so many great experiences coaching, and people like yourself, Mike. You're a great story for me. One of the reasons that we could do the stuff we did is I could put you on their best receiver and didn't have to worry about you holding up Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And so that freed us up to do some things that other people wouldn't even think about doing, because I knew I was going to be riding pretty close to his guy.
I got to hop in here, Ike, because you're going to be too proud to ask this question. In that 05 Super Bowl, Coach, when Ike gets the key interception in the game and it flips the momentum of the game, it prevents the Seahawks from scoring. Bleav, Ike, you were in your 3rd year at that point. What was going through your mind of seeing your young player perform when the stakes were the highest?
Me?
Yes, sir.
I thought you was asking Mike that question, but now the way you ended it. Actually, I do remember that interception. He was in the end zone. Ike was. And but my favorite interception that Ike ever made was against New England in Heinz Field. It's not Heinz Field anymore, but no, it's going to be me. And you intercepted that post, deep post. It was
Johnson.
Brady could throw that ball. and he turned that ball loose. I said, oh, man, every time you're coaching, every time the ball takes off like that, it's about 60 yards in the air, and you're thinking, oh, man, I hope it don't come down in their hand. And you timed that ball and covered that thing so, and all the things that we've been working on. And I used to kid my guys about the interceptions and everything.
Right.
But if I would have caught all the balls that I dropped, I'd probably have every record they ever needed. I dropped about twice as many as I caught. But he dropped about 4 times as many as he caught. And I played that. Do you remember that interception, Ike?
Yeah,
that you made? You know what I'm talking about? And
yeah, that was cover 6.
Yeah, and in the meeting that Monday, I must have played it 20 times. I went over to frame by frame. I said, look at this angle. Look at this timing. Look at that leap. I said, look at those hands. That's all you got to do. That was my favorite interception, but that was a huge play. But I knew the second day, I think, that Ike and I were on the practice field together, that I had something special. He actually didn't play DP your first couple of years in college, did you, Ike?
No, I was a walk-on.
Offensive guy and a return guy, and
yep.
And so as a result, he had size, speed, and numbers and everything. He wasn't like a number 3 guy in the draft picked or something like that, which athletically is what he was. And when I saw him and I saw his size and his strength, I said, this guy could be something pretty special. And the corner was a position that I played, and I always felt that I could help corners shortcut their learning process a little bit, because I'd been down that road many times myself and learned the proper angles and techniques the hard way, but getting my tail end burnt off by a wide receiver. And just getting on the field with Ike the first times that we would go out there, and I saw that his size was special for a corner, but his strength was, he had strong arms, and if he got his hands on you, man, you weren't going to get too far. And that was, I didn't have a doubt that he was going to be a great corner. You just never know what the learning process is going to be and how long it's going to take him. So that early pick that you're referring to, we also had Bryant McFadden in that particular game you're talking about, and he was a similar guy, build-wise and ability-wise to Ike, and they went after him, but he held up too. When you got corners holding up, pal, your defense is going to hold up. I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for or not.
No, that's perfect, Dick. I wanted to ask you about your book. What inspired you to come out with the legendary book? I know it comes out July the 9th, but what made you in your mind like, you know what, let me come out with this book?
Well, the book was not supposed to even have anything in there except I was coaching you guys. It was all about the 2008 defense.
Okay.
And I took in the introductory portion of the book a little time explaining the statistical approach that we took to defense. And it was my way of giving you guys a concrete way comparing your performance. That's what I was looking for. I didn't want to pull a bunch of stuff out of the sky and just say, here's what you got to have, here's the numbers you got to get. So I based it on the performance of defenses in the league, probably for over 20 years. And those numbers, believe it or not, until recently with the rules changes, they didn't alter that much. They never changed that much. So I had a pretty good feeling in my mind of the categories that a defense had to hold up in to be competitive and to be able to say, we're doing a good job. We're playing football at a playoff level. And that was over the years, we had goals. You remember this, and when we went over those preseason, we went over it after every game during season to see how we were doing based off of factual performances of previous defenses that ended up being championship defenses. So that I always had that as a goal setting, realistic number that I felt confident in asking you guys to be able to reach. And when I would do them, we'd go over them every week, if you remember.
Right.
We always did it. And that was really the basis of whether I thought you guys were playing all right or not. And always pushed you to do a little bit better. But if we were competing at these levels, they were not easy to reach. Well, as we were going through the season, I realized that this is a very unusual year, that you guys were at the top or very near the top in almost all these categories. And I think I had 11 key areas and maybe 4 or 5 others areas of interest. And at the end of the season, you guys, out of the 11 key defensive numbers that I thought was necessary for a team to be successful on the field competing in the NFL, you guys were number 1 in 9 out of the 11 categories, and the other 2 you were second. And in the areas of interest, I think there was 2 more firsts and a couple of a third and a fourth, and I think the lowest of any statistical category that I thought was even worth mentioning, we had an 8th in one of the categories. But I took a long time in the book explaining this was the criteria that I based my decision on what a great defense it was. Well, I was aware of it because of those numbers. Not everybody were as statistically inclined as I have been all my life.
Gotcha.
So I said that this team should be remembered. These numbers are legendary. And then when we were playing in the Super Bowl in 2008, and they hit that play in the fourth quarter to take the lead, we'd led the whole daggum game. And then Ben took the team back down the field, and Santonio caught that tremendous play in the end zone. Mm-hmm. And we had still, there was almost 2 minutes to go in the game. We had to get off the field. We had to secure that win. I got Mike Tomlin got you guys together.
Right.
And he said, you guys have been a great defense this whole year. And I've been associated with a lot of great defenses, Super Bowl championship defenses, Mike said. He said, but if you guys go out there and get this stop right now, today, you will be a legendary defense. And that's where I thought, oh, that's my book. That's what I want to write, and that's going to be the title of the book, The Legendary Defense, 2008. So you're asking me how did I come up with the idea? I always had the idea that I wanted to do this so that you're in print. And if, future NFL fans or historians, as long as it'll go, they can go back and get this season and the stats that you guys put up, and they'll be there. And well, the time went by, and I thought, well, what if somebody starts playing better defense than what you guys did in 2008? I said, there's a whole theme of my book is gone. So I got busy and wrote, but you don't write a book overnight. That took me about a year to put it together. And but that's the reason, and that was the impetus that put me into finally writing it. And since that year, nobody's been anywhere near you guys in total defense, yards per play, points yield, and all that stuff. You're still number 1. And the way they play defense now and the way they throw the ball around all over the field, it's going to be hard for anybody to catch it. But records are made to be broken.
Right.
And still, you are a member of a legendary defense. And now we got a book out there that anybody could read about y'all.
Speaking of defense, what inspires you to come up with the Fire Zone?
Well, the Fire Zone was pretty much, they say that invention is the mother of necessity. The offenses pretty much had the blitzes figured out. So again, with my statistics, every year I would go back over every play our defense had, and I would rate it. It was a success. It was a failure. It was okay. And, I had everything broken down. Big plays, yielded big plays, pluses, minuses. And I saw that pressure plays year in and year out were giving us the biggest amount of yardage created for the defense, of calamities created for the offense. And I said, well, blitzing is the best way to go. Of course, I've always been a blitzer anyhow, but that just substantiated in my mind. But along with it, the biggest gambles, if you will, the most huge number of yards allowed, points allowed in one particular snap was always against the blitz also. So I said, there got to be a safer way to do this so that if one or two guys fall down, miss a tackle, that it's not out the gate, that somebody is at least around to police up the field and get the guy on the ground, give us a chance to play in another down. So I thought, as I watched the run and shoot offenses that came in probably in the 90s, and then the West Coast offense, which was all quick release, stuff like that. And they were eating up teams that tried to blitz because they had this guy blitz, they broke this route off, and they coordinated that theme on offense. And it was very successful. And the blitzes were becoming more penal to the defense than to the offense. Well, that's not a good deal then. Right. So I thought, well, if there's a way that we could give the appearance of an all-out blitz, that means everybody playing man-on-man in the secondary, no free safety, everybody zero was what we called the coverage, if you remember.
Yes.
But could come up with a trap or at least one guy free to police up with vision what's happening in the overall play. And if we break down in the blitz, he can still come over there and save our bacon and get us into another series of downs. So that was the basic thought behind it. And I thought, well, that should be, you should be able to do that. So the first thing was disguise and try to emulate all-out blitz, which, you guys spent a lot of time camouflaging what we were actually doing. And then I found out fairly early on that if you were going to shoot the pistol loaded up, you had to pull the trigger. So we had to run some zero blitzes, and you guys had to be able to hold up enough in those so that they didn't know when we were going to dump the kitchen sink on them. And then the rest of the time was they had to figure out who was coming where and where was the outlet pass. And you guys in particular were very great at disguise. You worked at it. And you always came in to me and said who I got this week, because you were usually pretty busy. That somebody's got to be playing man-to-man out there. And you enabled us to do a lot of the stuff that we did, Ike, because of your ability. And I've always said that to anybody that asks me a question. Another bit of an unsung hero. I don't think you ever got quite full credit. People recognize that you're a great corner. But the zone blitz kind of came because our corners could hold up without it. And the other guy is Casey Hampton. And Casey, because people had so much trouble trying to block him, they had to put two on him, and they still couldn't block him. So nobody could run because we always had a free guy running around. And when a team can't run on you, they got to pass. And that makes them very more susceptible to trick blitzes, which is what our specialty was. So that's a long answer, I know. But once I started going with the disguise blitzes, I found out that sometimes I would go off the diving board and the swimming pool would be empty, man. It was a good idea, but your players couldn't do it. It was just too hard to do. So those I threw out, and it took a number of years, really, to get the package. And it's all around the league now. Everybody, I go to high school games and there's zone blitzing, which is kind of a thrill for me, to be honest with you. But the guys that are doing it now, they don't know what they're doing in behind it. You guys could make it work when you play the way it was designed.
Right.
And that's why we were so much more successful with it. But I don't think it's going to be gone because it's a safer way to blitz. And that's what I was looking for. And that's what your question was. And we all benefited from it with that old 8 defense, who was, you guys were a terror. And they didn't know who was coming when. And to be honest with you, Ike, you were a great blitzer, but you were too valuable to me back there covering, and I didn't blitz it. But that ended up being a strength, because whenever I wanted a surprise, really a surprise, because everybody we were playing, they said, well, don't worry about Taylor. He's always covering. He's not blitzing. I'd blitz you. You always come in there and make a sack. You were a great tackler, Ike, a great player. It was an honor to coach you, man.
Thank you. I think I tell people this all the time, Dickie. All us had our individual goals. What I mean by all us, like all my teammates had individual goals, whether it was money, Super Bowl, Pro Bowls, whatever it was. But when you came back to the Pittsburgh Steelers and how you represented yourself and the way you talked to us and how you talked to us, you became one of our goals. What I mean by you becoming one of our goals was we didn't want to let you down, so we love that you came in on Monday sometimes and be like, you know what, guys, it's a few plays I didn't call right, but y'all made me look good. And us leaving them meetings and we sitting down and we going back downstairs before we go to practice, Dickie, we like, did you just hear what Coach LeBeau say? Like, Coach LeBeau don't feel like he always perfect. Like, and he giving us the leeway sometimes on third downs to make the calls. Like, why not run through a brick wall for this dude? Why not him be one of our individual goals? So, Dick, I just wanted to let you know, man, not only as a person, but as a coach, man, I couldn't find a better person than coach. I'm so glad Pittsburgh has swooped you back on the second time around, because I don't know what my NFL career would have been if I didn't meet Coach LeBeau.
Well, thank you. I tell you, when I made the decision to be a coach, to hear one of your players say what you just said to me, that tells me that I made the right decision, because all I ever wanted to do was help people. I'd spent my life in football, played 14 years in the National Football League, and it was time to go, And I said, well, what am I going to do with the knowledge that I've gained over these 14 years? I've gained it the hard way. And I said, well, I got to coach other NFL players. And that's why I became a coach. But it also stood me in good stead to hear you talk there. I've been out there on the field myself, man, for 14 years. I knew there were times when you went the wrong way and you just messed up and you got beat and you cost your team valuable yardage and maybe the ball game. And you have to have a certain character, a demeanor about you to play a position like corner, who is exposed every single down, and every snap can be a 70-yard touchdown. Right. And you got to focus on what you got to do on the next play. And those were all standards that made me a pretty solid coach, because I knew the angles, and I knew that it wasn't going to be perfect every time. You weren't going to have a good game. That's why when I say a great corner, I mean, did you win every down? No. Did you have some plays that the other guy won? Yeah. I mean, you guys are playing against the greatest football players in the world and the finest athletes in the country. And they're going to be successful too every now and then. So my patience in that regard were earned, by being out there and playing. And I focused on, I wanted you guys to have individual goals, and we encouraged it. We talked about it.
Right.
But overriding all that and superseding anybody's individual goal was the goal of the defense and the goal of the team to be a championship team, to be a winning team. And that was the only thing that would make me raise my voice on occasion if I thought a player was putting his personal goals above our group goals. Right. And that was where the '08 defense was exceptionally talented in. You guys, you didn't really care who got the sack. You didn't really care who made the big interception at the end of the game. All you cared about was that defense being successful and keeping the other guy out of putting so many points on the board that our offense didn't have a chance to win a game for us. And that was, as a strength of a coach, that was my only strength. I could keep you guys focused on a team. You know, they say team's a family and the family's a team. And everybody, you hear that, everybody's talking that, but a lot of people, it's just lip service. But you guys lived it. And that's what I'm most proud about that '08 defense and the subject of the book.
Coach, what did it mean to you when the Steelers players you were coaching would wear your Detroit Lions number 44 jersey in their push and their voice to try to get you into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, I think they got me in, to be honest with you. They got a lot of attention. They said, what the heck? Who's this 44? These guys got his jersey they got on. But there's no words that can express that, because it's when you're a coach or a teacher, and when you're a teacher, you're only looking for your guys to get the basics of life a little bit while they learn that this is a great country, but this country only works. It's democracy. Everybody's got to recognize that there's other people on the planet. And when you see your players doing something like that, they call me Coach Dad. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of coaches that wouldn't like that. Well, I loved it, you know, because in truth, by the time I got an experienced player, they could have called me Coach Granddad, because the difference in our ages, that's what it was, you know. But that bothered me not at all, not the least. In fact, it was the highest form of compliment that they could give me. Now, one thing I did tell these guys, we were playing Detroit in Pittsburgh. We'd had some injuries earlier in the year. I don't remember exact year, but it was close to the '08 season. It was same defense, same guys. And I came into the dressing room. It was a night game. And 44 LeBeau, Detroit, everybody on the team had jerseys hanging outside their locker all the way around. And I was stunned. And I went in to get dressed, you know, and the players were always in there a little sooner than me. And I'd say, man, this is awesome. It's unbelievable. So, but before we left that locker room and went out for the pregame, I gathered them guys around me and I said, now, men, this is a tremendous honor. I said, but we better damn well win this game. And they did that with me. Even by listening to me in the meetings and listening to me in the practice, I didn't have to holler. I can confirm this. If I raised my voice, I got their attention because I never did it. And they figured, well, Dickies must be upset about something. And but I told them, and my words came back to me in this little meeting we're having here. When I played, my biggest fear in that huddle was letting the other 10 guys down around me.
Right.
I said, I wasn't afraid of anything except that. And there was Ike talking about they didn't want to let me down. And so that part of my teaching, it held sway, at least with this group. They were a very, very special group. They get together all the time, and they will, as long as one of them's still on the planet. Or I guess you need two of them to get together.
Right. Now you talked about family. I think us as a defense just took it to a whole nother level. I remember sometimes y'all upstairs game planning, and we all downstairs. I'm talking about 7, 8 o'clock at night, and this is after practice. We all downstairs, just enjoying each other. But you know, you emphasize, you know, what a family was, being unselfish, what that meant, and playing as one. And we kind of took that to heart, and we ran with it. And this was more off the field than on the field. That's what I don't think people understand. But you gave us the blueprint, and we took that blueprint and we ran with it. And like you say, Dickie, to this day, you know, we have gatherings. If a guy's in need, we help one of our teammates out, you know. So that's just what it was. But, you know, you say the book is legendary, you're a legendary guy, but the way you carried yourself, Dickie, we looked at you as a Hall of Fame, not only coach, but just like a person. We we looked at you as having like a genuine soul, you know. So you was dad, but you was also like sensei. You know what I'm saying? Like we kind of I ain't gonna say kind of we honored you, not from a coaching perspective, but a person perspective. And I tell people this all the time, like there's only a few good souled people, like humans, and you're one of them. So that's how we felt about you as a defense.
The greatest compliment you could give me, but you guys did it for the way you played. I mean, you displayed your love for me and my love for you, the way you played. You guys played like you didn't want to let the team down, man.
Right.
And you listened to me. And as far as personality or character or something, anything good that I got, you give credit to my mom. And I guess anything ornery in me, you can give credit to my dad. but we were a loving family, and my mother was a saint. So, like I said, just what I was talking about earlier. You know, you're not the only person on the planet, man, and that's all I tried to do was share the way I felt about people with you guys. You know, James Ferrier was a leader as our captain, but he was a big part of that off the field stuff, man. He made sure that you guys not only helped each other if you were down, but just maintained the status quo and kept everybody on the same page. And I remember one time there was a particular article in a paper, and Kiesel and Smith, Brett Kiesel and Aaron Smith were our defensive ends, and there was a player gotten in a beef with a coach someplace in the meeting, in a defensive meeting. And it was kind of be news, you know, negative news, I call it. And one of the reporters asked Kiesel and Smith, said, well, what would you guys do if somebody did that to Coach LeBeau? And Kiesel said, they wouldn't get out of the room. But that was the, I guess it was just the overall air of attitude of that defensive bunch, that there was a love in that defensive group,
right,
and a respect, not only from me to the players, but from the players back to me. And I took my share of the blame, and that was part of it. You heard Ike talking about that. And I didn't try to put myself up as we lost, but I won type of thing, which I've seen some coaches do. And we dealt with the facts, you know, and if we didn't do what we wanted to get done in the game, we laid it on the table and said, here's what we got to do to fix it. And then with that 08 defense, there wasn't much fixing to be done. But there were some times that we didn't play up to our ability.
Right.
I mean, this is a game played by human beings, and they are not infallible. They're not perfect. But dealing with failure is a huge part of becoming the champion. And you guys dealt with failure tremendously. You went back to work, and you went back to getting together closer. And you examined, what did we do this week that might possibly have caused us to play below our standards? And when you can talk to people about failure without alienating, then you've got a perfect chemistry for a team sport where they can get better daily. And at the end of the year, they were pretty daggone good.
Sheesh. I can listen to you all all day. I can't. I can't even lie.
Because you
So-
had to listen to me long enough, like in your career, because I was going to darn sure talk to you, man.
Nah, Dickie, you just got like this little soothing personality, this soothing voice where you just talk and you kind of like rock me to sleep. Like my mind just go at ease when you get to talking. That's just you. You don't even try to do it. That's just you, man. You, like I said, you different. You're a gift. You don't come around too often, so I just had to acknowledge. It's been an honor. It's been a blessing just being around you for all them years, man. So I look at a few people like that. I look at my son like that, and I look at you like that, and I looked at Papa Rooney like that. And I tell myself all the time, like, man, you're just a good soul. It's hard to find people who just have a good, genuine soul. I feel like Papa Rooney is like that, my son is like that, and you like that. So, man, I'm fortunate to be around y'all kind of people.
Great. That's a great compliment, Ike. And it was an honor to coach you, man. And that defense was full of great athletes. And you guys in the secondary were a huge part of the strength of that defense because you could hold up and you got it done week in and week out.
The question I have is, at the end of your career, your coaching career, Coach, you went to the Tennessee Titans. I've never asked you about this before.
Mm-hmm.
How close were you getting to bringing along some of your Steelers players, whether it's Ike, Troy Polamalu? Were there any conversations to say, let's go join Coach LeBeau in Tennessee?
Well, the NFL, you're contractually bound to a particular team, so you might want to go. The only guy that I can think of that we got back who left us was Harrison, and I didn't want to ever lose him anyhow. And it didn't work out for him where he went. He went to Cincinnati, and he said everybody was afraid of him over there. And I said, well, hell yes, you beat the hell out of them twice a year every time we played them. But you don't get a pick and choose in the professional world.
Mm-hmm.
You have more freedom, excuse me, now than we had from the beginning when I first came into the league. And there was no union, and the players didn't have the opportunity to change ever. You either played for the team that drafted you or you went to Canada. That was your options. But it's different now. You have avenues that you can get out of a situation that you're uncomfortable in and get to another franchise, which it should be. But basically, you don't sit down and decide, oh, I'd like to go play for him and play for them. Everybody would go play for New England, I guess, when they had Brady going and beating everybody. Mm-hmm. So one thing is for sure about a professional, well, any coaches are, as they say, there's either coaches that have been fired or coaches that are about to be fired, and that's the way it goes. And you're probably going to coach for more than one team, and I just tried to go down to Tennessee and do a good job. That's all I ever tried to do when I was coaching. But this book, that 08 defense, it was family.
Yeah, we was different. Dick, I remember walking on the field, and me, Ryan Clark, and Troy, we saying to each other just off of warm-ups, like, I don't think this team gonna score 14 points today. And
wow.
this was like damn near every week how well prepared we was going into the game. Like, we used to have these conversations on the often, like, I don't know if they're gonna score 10 today. And we used to tell them that, like, I don't think y'all gonna score 10. I don't think y'all gonna score 14. Y'all might get to 17 today, but it's looking real ugly for y'all on the other side.
Well, you gave up around 13 points a game, which was the statistic, which is unbelievable in professional football. but success breeds a lot of confidence, and you guys played with confidence, and that's why if things didn't go right, nobody panicked, because it was just a matter of time before we were going to get it straightened out and get back on the road. You just week in and week out, you guys were going to play good defense, and in the National Football League, you're not successful every snap, and you're not successful every game.
Right.
But you guys came as close to it as any defense I've seen.
Coach, when did you realize the 08 team was different than the other teams you had coached to that point?
Really not the degree to which I am talking now, until I went back and researched those 19 games play by play after the passing of time, with a clearer mind than thinking about, who we're going to draft this year, or which blitz should I put in this off season or something like that. You were always busy. And in retirement, I could just sit there and watch them play, and they were just different. And they had a group of different athletes, that each one at his own position were special. That's not going to happen very often. I mean, it doesn't happen. You not only have to have 11 starters that are particularly outstanding, but you have to have a depth roster in behind those guys. The 11 guys don't play every play, and team substitutes, you got to match with them.
Right.
So you got to have 17, 19 great players, and we had them. And so that's what made them different.
Ike, do you have anything else? Because I could keep going till sundown, but I do want to be respectful of Coach's time.
We'll be putting everybody to sleep here pretty soon.
Nah.
No.
I can sit and listen to you all day. I just want to
Same.
Thanks for your time, Dickie. Always was a pleasure. This was long overdue. I know Mark couldn't wait. Once he knew you was coming on, he couldn't wait. But thanks for your time. Always a pleasure. We'll see you soon. I will see you in July for your book. So I'll be up there around your way. Make sure y'all go check out Legendary. July 9th, Dick LeBeau has his book coming out. You can just sit and listen to him all day at the same time. Whatever he had in his head, he put in the book. So make sure y'all grab this book, Legendary, July 9th. But Dick, I just want to appreciate everything. Not only, as a coach, but just helping me as a young man, and you doing that, just showing your leadership. You didn't say too much. Whenever you spoke, like you said, when you did raise your voice, all us tuned in, because you never did it on the often. But I just want to say, man, thank you so much for just being the person you was and leading by example.
You guys didn't need any leadership. I just want to say I love you, Ike Taylor. Thanks for all you did for me, pal.
Love you too, Coach.
It's the legendary Coach Dick LeBeau, my co-host Ike Taylor. Thanks for watching another episode of the Bleav in Steelers show. We'll see you next time. Until then, take care. So long, everybody.
Peace.